April saw frantic activity in property sales centres across China, with demand and prices breaking records. Here in the second-tier city of Chongqing, home to some 200 developers, mid-range two-bedroom apartments are fetching around $75,000, double the 2006 cost. The 500 homes offered here sold out quickly, despite a 10% price hike in a single weekend.
For South Group, sales have been good. In the past couple of days, we've raised prices 3 times for our Rose City properties.
Chongqing is a barometer for sentiment nationwide. At its 4-day-long spring housing fair, developers sold over 18,000 apartments, up 87% on 2009. Citywide deals amounted to $1.3 billion, a rise of 120%. And given the sheer size of the market, a bursting property bubble could dwarf Dubai's woes. But then those shopping for property generally have good salaries, typically with monthly household incomes of over $1,000, or they're able to leverage other assets.
One thing about China's residential real estate market that I think people don't really understand very well is that what is called mass market housing is really geared for upper middle class white collar workers. And the amount of housing under that category that's been built thus far has only been enough to penetrate that far down the scale.
While there appears to be enough demand for this category of supply, the government nonetheless is worried. That's because the well-off and even families with pooled resources are parking their money in multiple properties as bank interest rates are lower than inflation. And this is fueling runaway prices. At the same time, an ever-growing mass of workers can't afford to buy their first home.
The Chinese government should control the activities of those who buy purely to invest and make huge profits, including controls on second homes, third homes and loans. It needs to control these.
It needs to politically because bitterness is running high, particularly among those fresh out of university, especially so in metropolises like Beijing and Shanghai. Prices there are up to 4 times more than in China's interior. An apartment costs 110 times the average urban income near the coast. And in a country where young males outnumber females, largely the impact of the one-child policy and gender selection, young men have problems securing a second date unless they own a home.
The social importance of having an apartment is very high. So if you're a young man living in the city, if you want to get married, your in-laws expect you, your future in-laws expect you to own an apartment. So getting on the housing ladder is an important social issue.
In China, it's said that pushy mother-in-laws not only fuel family conflicts, but that they also help stoke soaring property prices. The government is responding with policy fervour. To rein in Beijing's rampant market, families already owning an apartment can't buy another, and borrowers must prove that their tax affairs are in order before the banks can grant a home loan. The new measures aren't that strict countrywide, but there's been a tightening. Minimum down payments on second homes are now 50% of the sale price, and mortgages are not allowed on third properties. As for developers, the government has frozen applications from 45 companies to raise some $18 billion in share issues. Its goal is to put a brake on price hikes but avoid seriously deflating values. Any cooling of the property market could hurt powerful interest groups, from local governments which earned over $200 billion from land sales in 2009 to state-owned banks and developers. Any slump would lower growth and tax revenues, plus raise unemployment.
The real estate industry is a crucial component of the Chinese economy. And in fact, building residential housing alone is about 10% of GDP. So from the government's perspective, looking at how they manage the economy, keeping a robust residential market is crucial.
But the problem of providing newer housing for lower earners remains. So in trial cities, the government is poised to embark on a programme of offering low-rent social housing. In Chongqing's case, some 700,000 apartments over the next decade. In a creative burden-sharing move, the authorities have cajoled large developers to lend some of their housing stock to the city for up to 5 years, typically to house graduates who've just started work.
It'll bring opportunities for us. For after 5 years, many may want to buy that home because they know the area well by then. It'll help each other.
But this will also take time. For now, demand for housing is so strong that despite the government's best efforts to cool the market, the effect may be limited. The People's Republic is getting used to the fact that even state-controlled capitalism is tough to control.